I have my water bottle. I have my headphones. I have a playlist and my tracking apps ready to go. And I've got a pair of chamois shorts on. I'm all geared up, so that means today we're going for a ride. The destination is nowhere. That's right. Today's video is about pedaling to nowhere. We're going to take a look at a couple different indoor cycling methods that you can use in your home or apartment. We're going to look at rollers, a couple stationary trainers, and spin bike, and see how you might be able to use them to keep your legs going over the winter, through the rain, or just when you don't have time to make it out to the trail. This is a set of rollers, appropriately named because of the 3 cylinders that ride on bearings and are connected by this belt that allow your wheels front and back to roll along as if you're riding down the road. Might not make sense at first, but pay attention and you'll see what I mean. You'll realize fairly quickly once you get your bike up on a set of rollers that with the added height, it's pretty impossible to go ahead and just jump up on the bike and start going. You won't even need anything fancy. I'm just going to use a basic igloo cooler just to give me a little bit extra height so that way I can get on and off the bicycle freely and easily without having to jump up and down. Now, one word of caution, make sure that you place your rollers far enough away from whatever you're going to use so that way your pedal won't strike it if you ride to the left of your rollers. Now, if you're just learning to ride rollers for the first time, definitely start up against a wall in a room that's free and clear of obstruction. You can even start inside a doorway, that way you can use your elbows to help brace yourself. You'll realize very quickly that a small amount of input makes a big difference on how the bike moves. And also, speed is your friend. The faster you go, the more stable it will be. Keep in mind as you explore the range of motion that the rollers allow that it is absolutely possible to roll right off the side of one of the drums. Add this to the reasons to use flat pedals to learn how to ride before you go clipless. This next piece of advice is for when you want to get off of the bicycle. Make sure whenever you want to end your training session that you ride to the left of the rollers, let the wheels come to a complete stop before you try to get off the bike. If not, what will happen is you'll end up leaning the bike a little bit to the left, and while the wheels are still moving, it will eject right out from under you. Some of the great benefits that using rollers in your training can provide you is how to be smooth. Smooth with your pedaling and smooth with your inputs at the handlebars. Riding on rollers will help you learn to hold a straight line and a smooth cadence without bouncing or being choppy. You'll also learn that speed is your friend. Kick it up into the high gears, keep the wheels moving, and you'll find your nice happy cadence that is almost seamless between movements. As you become more proficient on the rollers, you'll notice that you'll be no longer going from side to side and you'll be holding that straight line right in the middle of the roller fairly smooth. As you progress, you can even get to the point where you can ride without your hands on the bars. Now, this is more of an advanced move and it took me a long time before I was able to do this, but this really lets you know that you have your balance in control and you know what the bike is doing underneath you. We said it once before and we'll say it again. When you go to get off the bike, let it come to a complete stop before you try dismounting to the side. Rollers are not road bike specific. The wheelbase is adjustable so you can fit just about any bike out there, and as long as you're using smooth tires, you can gain the training benefits of incorporating this into your routine. Rollers have a fairly low resistance, so these make it really great for recovery rides or doing high-speed leg drills. What we have here is a fairly common design for a stationary trainer. Up here, set the wheel inside, clamp it right onto the axle. The rear wheel rides right here on this drum, which turns a resistance unit. These can usually be wind, magnetic, fluid, or some of the newer models have a smart control device which can adjust the power. This one is a liquid controlled, meaning there's an actual blade inside this unit which resists against a silicone oil, and that's what provides your feedback whenever you're pedaling. Setting your bike up on one of these trainers is fairly straightforward. Using the axle or the adapters they provide is simply clamp your bicycle in by the rear axle and tighten it down so that way it's in there snug. Give it a wiggle to make sure you don't have any excessive movement or slop that could affect your ride. Once the rear axle is in there tight, go ahead back to the rear resistance drum and adjust it so that way it's making full contact with your tire, so that way you get accurate readings and no slipping. Now, unlike the rollers, there is no learning curve for really using a stationary trainer like this. Once you're bolted in, just go ahead, jump up on the bike, and go for a ride. With a basic trainer setup like this, if you want to increase resistance, you have to increase your speed. So for that, just go ahead and start going through your gears until you find the resistance level for the workout that you need. I highly recommend, when using a stationary trainer, to change your body position and your position on the handlebars often. This way it just keeps the pressure from building up because there isn't much natural movement like as if you were riding rollers or on the actual road. If you haven't noticed by now, using a cycling trainer isn't the quietest thing in the world. They can make a fair amount of noise. Some brands do make a trainer-specific tire that has a different tread profile on it and a different rubber that should quiet things down a little bit. Let's see if you hear the difference. I don't know if it translates to video that well, but there was a slight reduction in humming noise. With the use of axial adapters, you can put almost any bicycle onto a stationary trainer. You can even put a BMX bike or a child's bike on these with the use of a small wheel adapter. You also don't always have to just work on your pedaling. You can work on your balance and also your position on the bike to feel how much you can be weighted front or rear. By now, you've seen somebody's video on Instagram about the manual machine that they made. Well, with a stationary trainer, you can actually get the same benefit, and I think it might actually be a little bit better because your rear wheel and your pedals move normally, even though this isn't actually what a manual feels like. Now, on a stationary trainer, your bike is locked into the unit. There's no side-to-side movement, there's no forward and back. You're pretty much just on a regular exercise bike. To change this a little bit, some people have gone as far to make rocker plates, meaning they've made large tables that they actually place their whole training unit and their bicycle on top to let it rock back and forth. What this does is a few things. One, it gives you a little bit more of a natural feel, allows the bike to wiggle underneath you, which I've found that when I've tried them actually releases a little bit of back pain on longer training sessions. It also teaches you that if you're pulling and pushing on the handlebars incorrectly, you'll get excessive wobbling. And this helps you to also be more steady, similar to the effect that you can learn on the rollers. The unit that I have to show you is from the same company as my stationary trainer, but it has a built-in rocker plate in the trainer that allows it to move back and forth. Let's take a look at it. As you can see, This uses the same exact resistance unit that the previous model that we were looking at does, except now it's mounted on top of automotive suspension style bushings that you can adjust the tension of to adjust how much response you get in freedom of movement with the bicycle. Units like these have the added benefit of less wear and tear on your bicycle. Instead of transferring 100% of the force into the frame of the bicycle, it now gets absorbed and gets transferred into a natural motion. With the use of a few basic sensors, you can tie most of these trainer units into some of the online phone or computer apps. This way you can track your speed, your cadence, and your basic distance. Might not be exact measurements, but it's enough to build a training plan on. We definitely need to talk about sweat management. Because you're not actually out riding your bike, there's no wind, which allows your body temperature to spike. Get a towel, get a fan, do whatever you can to stay cool. This is a standard spin bike. The reason I'm showing you this is because you can find these online in the classified ads, usually pretty cheap. There's a lot of people that bought these, thought they'd be of good use to them, probably just hung laundry and stack things on top of them. But if you're actually looking for a way to get a little exercise at home, these aren't that bad. They might just get a little boring unless you have some videos to watch. Now, these operate kind of like a fixed gear bicycle. They have a set of cranks hooked to a flywheel, and there is no ratcheting. If you pedal backwards, the flywheel moves backwards. If you pedal forwards, the flywheel moves forwards. The key here to remember, if you're ever going to use one of these, when you're exercising and you get tired, don't stop pedaling, let it slow down, hit the brake, and then you can get off. When they are maintained properly, spin bikes like this can have a pretty usable range of resistance. You can either stay seated and work on your strength, or crank it up even higher and work on your standing hill climbs. If you want, you can even take all the resistance off and do some high-speed drills to get your legs moving. And remember, when you want to stop, reach down, hit the brake, bring it to a safe stop. This next setup we're going to look at is what I call the Premier Holy Shit Package. This is a modern smart trainer with a few extra bells and whistles. Brad, take it away.
Hey, what's up? My name's Brad. Ed asked me to give him a hand to show off my indoor training setup in my pain cave, even though this is in my attic, so it's my pain attic, my tower of terror that I have up here. I have a fully integrated smart system here with a variable front tire system that allows elevation simulation, along with a back rear unit that is a smart integrated power system. So hooked into a multitude of different computer programs or bike computers, whatever your preference is, to show and simulate power curves and actually give you kind of that real road effect in an indoor setup. So with a smart trainer system like this, where you are going to directly mount your bike to the trainer, you're going to need a second cassette that'll stay on the trainer at all times. So it's a little bit more involved because you have to take your tire off. If you're using something like a through axle, you have to pull that out, take the tire off, move the chain, and then reset it onto the trainer. Once you get good at it, I can get this thing on and off the trainer in 30 seconds or so. So the same thing goes for the front system here for the climb. You're going to go ahead and take off your front tire. Again, if you're using any kind of through axle, there's all the different attachments and hub setups that you can use to make sure that your bike mounts to it. And you're seeing here as it's making little minor adjustments as I go up and down these virtually simulated hills. You get that positioning effect as you climb and as you descend. This will simulate up to 20% incline and 16% decline. So with a system like this, it has a built-in power meter, and it also has a built-in cadence sensor. So as I pedal, if I pedal faster, you can see those RPMs start to rise along with my power output. Same thing on the way down. Over here on the top right corner in this program, Zwift, as that grade changes and I shift up to 8%, all of a sudden you get that variable change in your power output to simulate the differences that you would feel as you climb and as you fall. So picked a pretty technical course here just to show how that goes up and down to simulate these little kickers.
When using the virtual ride simulation, you can go through your gears to increase or decrease your resistance just like you would if you were on a normal road ride. But with the virtual setting, as you go up a hill in the video game, it also increases the resistance to the drive unit on the bike you're riding. And the opposite effect happens as you go down a hill. Resistance drops off, and your virtual speed within the simulation increases just as you would if you're riding a real bike. Okay, so today we went over a couple basic indoor cycling training methods. Rollers, a couple of stationary trainers, standard and smart controlled, and a spin bike. Now, there's other ways you can train for cycling, but these are just the ones we covered today. All of these options, with exception of the spin bike, are available from your local bike shop. We suggest going there before you try shopping online. Most of them could also be found used if you search for them. If you have any questions about what we went over today on how to use the trainers, or if you're interested in seeing a more in-depth video on either one of them, post a comment below, let me know, and we hope you like what you saw. Be sure to subscribe. We'll see you next time.